Good evening and welcome to our last news bulletin coming to you live from the News Hub here at Adesawe Kanda, Accra. If you're watching us on DSTV, this is channel 279. My name is Grace Hamwa. Sorry, let's take a look at the major news highlights. The suspension of the intended close season to all forms of fishing by the government has been greeted with mixed reactions from fishers. Some civil society groups are disappointed at the non-persistence on the parts of government, while some fishers feel betrayed for backing government ahead of the close fishing season. Others hailed government for giving them enough time to enable them prepare for its next year. Also, management of Ameri Energy says it had no discussions with government with regards to the new deal with miscellaneous. In a letter dated July 31, directed to the Energy Ministry, CEO of Ameri Energy, Maher Al-Alil, denied engaging government in any negotiations. Now, portions of the Accra-Kaswa Highway Road will be closed to vehicular traffic on Sunday, August 5 from 10 p.m. to 10 a.m. Monday, August 6. This is to allow for the asphalting of the sections of the Malam Junction Road that were cast through during the construction of the drain. To some other stories now, the Ghana Union of Traders Association, GUTA, is calling on its members to restrain themselves from assaulting Nigerian spare parts dealers in their quest to enforce a law that bars foreigners from retailing. The association, however, wants government to immediately enforce the law to save Ghanaian retailers from being pushed out of business. On the international front, 27 members of the opposition Movement for Democratic Change, MDC, appeared in a Zimbabwe court facing public violence charges on Saturday after 6 people were killed in post-election protests that were met by a military crackdown. The 27 MDC members were arrested on Thursday at the party's headquarters. Up next is the big one. Now, management of Ameri Energy says it had no discussions with government with regards to the new deal with miscellaneous. In a letter dated July 31, directed to the Energy Ministry, CEO of Ameri Energy, Maher Al-Alil, denied engaging government in any negotiations.
Government laid a renegotiated agreement on the floor of Parliament in July 2018 for a renegotiation of the Ameri deal, which was originally signed in February 2015. In the renegotiated agreement, government is expected to extend the $510 million deal from its original 5 years to 15 years, with the government committing over $700 million to it. However, a letter dated July 31 from Ameri to the Energy Ministry denied engaging government in any negotiations. Management of Ameri Energy says under the ongoing circumstances, they will not be associated with the so-called amended agreement. Ameri maintained they remain committed to the original agreement signed in February 2015. Management of Ameri Energy also urged government to settle default payment of some $82,660,560 owed them. The company noted the failure in the payment of the debt owed them will lead to legal action.
However, the Ministry of Energy has released a letter purported to have been authored by Ameri on July 24, authorizing one Nicholas Mause Ado to initiate the amendment agreements for build, own, operate and transfer agreement. The supposed authority is strictly limited to the purpose and only allows the representative to only initial the innovation and amendment agreement. The authorization in favor of the authorized representative and supposedly signed by the CEO of Ameri, Maher Al-Alil, shall expire on July 27, 2018. Let's stay a while longer on this story because the communications specialist for the Energy Ministry, Nana Damwa, has disclosed that the Energy Ministry is yet to receive the letter purported to be from Ameri Energy denying knowledge of the renegotiated deal. He spoke on News 360.
The letter that you showed firstly, the one that is reported to have been written on the 31st of July 2018 has not been received by the ministry. Okay. We are unaware of it. We saw it for the first time on social media today. We have no official records whatsoever of it. We've not seen anything like that, and we've had no such notification from Ameri that indeed they have written any such letter to us, and so we'd want to put that on the record clearly. All right. Again, what they seek to say in that letter is clearly contradicted by the letter of authorization, which, if you want, you can characterize it as a power of attorney that was given to Mausi Addo for him to initial the agreement. And I mean, you may want to verify what I am saying with the lawyers, but to initial an agreement of such a quality means that you agree to the terms in the agreement. So I'll be surprised that after having given that authority to an individual to come and initial the agreement, a claim is now being made that they had no idea or no knowledge whatsoever of the agreement that was presented to Parliament. That's a very, very confusing matter. But what we can say for certain is that indeed we received the power of attorney or the letter of authorization which was issued to the said individual, and the said individual was allowed to do his job as per the letter of authorization that he brought us.
Obviously, the issues around Ameri are not ending now, and so stay with us because we bring you more updates on this Ameri issue. If you just tuned in, this is News at 10 on TV3. If you're watching us on DSTV, this is channel 279. We're also live on our various social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. Let's move away from Ameri now because 6 people were reported dead, leaving several others with varied degrees of injuries during post-election protests in Harare on August 1, 2018. Soldiers and anti-riot police were implicated in the death of at least 6 people and serious injuries to dozens more. Hundreds of soldiers and anti-riot police were deployed across the city as residents awaited the results of the July 30 national elections. Scores of soldiers patrolled on foot as 2 helicopters in military camouflage colors flew several times over the Movement for Democratic Change MDC Alliance Party headquarters. The police confirmed the death of 6 people, though there are fears that the death toll could be higher. You're also watching News at 10 on TV3. We're back with some more stories after this break. Don't go away. Welcome back from the break. This is still News at 10 on TV3. We're also live on DSTV channel 279. Now, 6 people were reported dead, leaving several others with varied degrees of injuries during post-election protests in Harare on August 1, 2018. Let's go on Skype now and speak with Todd Maforimbo, who is a human rights activist joining me from Zimbabwe. Good evening to you, sir. So Zimbabwe have witnessed violence and chaos in the past 2 days, at least 6 persons killed. Is Harare calm now? What is the atmosphere there?
Well, thank you very much for having me. But the atmosphere in Harare is actually quite tense. We've had pockets of violence, and it's been coming from the authorities, from the police and from the army, who have been going to the settlements, places like Kuadzana, places like Mpakose, and other high-density suburbs, and actually assaulting people by the dead of night. Just today in Harare city center itself, we actually saw police assaulting the citizens, defenseless citizens, and it's all been recorded on camera. So the situation in Zimbabwe, especially Harare, is quite tense.
So you are a human rights activist. Quickly run us through the factors that account for post-election violence.
Right. Well, violence is any use of force against anyone, especially defenseless people. The use of weapons, the use of ammunition, the use of any force of power against defenseless people. So anything that, because a lot of people think that violence must result in injury. Violence does not necessarily result in injury. But the fact that you intimidate someone and you push them into a corner, or you make them cower down, or you take away their sense of safety, their sense of authority, their sense of belonging, that in itself is violence. Intimidation is violence in itself.
And so to what extent has the rhetoric of the ruling and opposition parties fueled the ongoing violence?
Sorry, could you repeat the question?
So I'm asking, to what extent has the rhetoric of the opposition party as well as the ruling party fueled the ongoing violence? Do you think they've done enough to make sure that the violence comes to an end?
If anything, let's talk about the ruling party first. When the coup happened in November, the idea was to make it appear as if the violence had actually ceased. But when you look at it, there have been pockets of violence and presence of the army and intimidation on the streets. And what has also happened is we've had people who've been passing themselves off as part of the opposition, the MDC alliance. And they've been violent towards, like people that are ZANU-PF supporters. Now, that could be actually genuine supporters, but there's a sense of belief that these people are actually infiltrating the MDC alliance, because some of the things that they're doing are not organized, and they're just erupting, going around just breaking property, causing damage to property and people. And it's unfortunate that that's what we've come to, but it shouldn't be happening. But when you look at it, on the face of it all, it appears as if both sides are being violent, but we know where the violence is coming from.
So, Todd, how would you describe the health of Zimbabwe's democracy in light of the post-election violence? Would you say it is still strong, or we can see some form of weakness in there?
To be honest, we cannot say there's democracy in Zimbabwe at the minute, and because all democratic processes are non-existent. I mean, you talk of, we were asking for access to the electoral vote, the voters' roll rather. We didn't get the voters' roll on time, and the one that we got is not the one that was used at the election. When you came to ask the questions as to why we were getting this incorrect one instead of the correct one, you were met with violence or no answers. You were met with intimidation. You go to any institution, even at the polling stations. The polling stations may have appeared to be peaceful, but you had ZANU-PF officials who were sitting at the polling stations and taking people's names down after they'd voted. And the only reason we would think that they'll take those names down is they would count the votes afterwards, and whoever wasn't getting it, they used the food and violence, beating people up after the election. If anyone did not vote for ZANU-PF, we've had ZANU-PF councillors actually publicly declaring that whoever doesn't vote for ZANU-PF is going to be made an example of. They will not get food aid, they will be cast out of the villages, and they will have beatings meted onto them. So we know that the violence totally exists, and democracy in itself in Zimbabwe at the minute does not exist, despite what the government wants us to think.
Thank you very much. Todd Maforimbo is a human rights activist. We'll surely come back to you in a subsequent bulletins. You're still watching NEWSAT10 on TV3. Let's move away from Zimbabwe and do some other stories where portions of the Accra-Kaswa Highway Road will be closed to vehicular traffic on Sunday, August 5 from 10 p.m. till 10 a.m. Monday, August 6. This is to allow for the asphalting of sections of the Malam Junction Road that were cut through during the construction of the drain. Here's a report by Salom Amenya.
Part of the Malam Junction Road was closed to traffic from April 30, 2018 for major drainage work on the 500-meter double-cell culvert, which formed part of the Greater Accra Metropolitan Area Gamma Sanitation and Water Project. This was to reduce the perennial flooding on that stretch. After completion in 50 days, however, the road had to be left to achieve the right compactness. Engineers say all is set for the asphalting to be done. This will, however, not be without inconvenience to motorists. The road from La Paz through Aushi traffic lights to Malam would be closed to vehicular traffic on Sunday, August 5 from 10 p.m. till 10 a.m. Monday, August 6. Coordinator of the Gama Sanitation and Water Project, Engineer Joja Sedu, noted during the period of the closure, traffic flow from the La Paz area will be diverted to one of the lanes on the Kaneshi-Kaswa section of the road.
August, which is a Wednesday, next week Wednesday, 10 p.m. to 10 a.m. on the 9th, we will close the Kaswa, the Kaneshi-Kaswa stretch. And then on the Saturday, which is 11th August, to Sunday, 10 p.m. to 10 a.m., we will close the Kaswa Kaneshi stretch. We are only closing it on the days that we are laying the asphalt.
The asphalting, which will be done in 3 phases, will be completed by Sunday, August 12. He cautioned residents of flood prone areas around Malam to stay away from the site.
We urge people living around that area that they should desist and move away. Other than that, if they have any problem, it is they who have brought those problems onto themselves. We are wished to advise that people should not be settling in those areas where we've cleared them and given them compensations to allow the water to flow.
Safety officers as well as police MTTD officers will be deployed to help pedestrians and motorists. Drivers are also cautioned to adhere to arrangements for safety.
Now, the suspension of the intended closed season to all forms of fishing by the government has been greeted with mixed reactions from fishers. Some civil society groups are disappointed at the non-persistence on the part of government, while some fishers feel betrayed for backing government ahead of the closed fishing season. Others hailed government for giving them enough time to enable them prepare for its next year.
Expressions of happiness, a bit of anger and disappointment and frustration characterized the meeting between stakeholders in the fisheries sector.
We had to fight, and we have fought a good fight. We have won the battle.
I really advocated for the closed season. Now I'm so embarrassed. I don't know how to even face my community.
The announcement by government to postpone the closed season to August next year had been received with divergent views. Over 100 fisherfolk, leaders of various landing beaches, executive members of the Ghana National Canoe Fishermen Council and the Fisheries Commission had been brought together by a civil society group on sustainable fisheries called Friends of the Nation. The meeting was to discuss the fallout of the closed season and the way forward to rebuilding the declining marine fish stock. Even though most of them were happy with the postponement, they were in full support of the intention to close the fishing season, which they believed would be done properly next year. One of their major concerns was to fight illegal, unreported and unregulated fishing practices, which have been a contributing factor to the crisis in the sector, with some blaming enforcement officials for selectively enforcing the laws against some communities.
They come all the way from Sekendi to arrest us at Axim for engaging in light fishing, even though there are some fishers over there who also engage in light fishing. If it's the monofilament nets that has caused this problem, why wouldn't they stop those who import them?
Some blamed the chief fishermen and leadership of the various beaches for poor communication of government decisions to the local people in their communities.
The best place to discuss this issue is at the beach, where a lot of the local folks are, not here in a hotel.
Others, however, wanted government to be bold and firm in its decision to ensure compliance to the various laws that would secure the fisheries sector. Organizers of the program, though disappointed in the development, were optimistic this will allow for broader consultation towards effective compliance next year.
We feel the government should have been firm because preparation had gone on. We also realized that when the close season discussion started, a lot of issues came to the fore. For instance, how IUU should be addressed, how fisherfolk leaders were mobilized, were they talking for the people or for themselves. So you could see that this was catalyzing fisheries governance. We need active dialogue. And now the postponement, we don't want that dialogue and that discussion to fall out.
Still on this subject, the Ghana National Canoe Fishermen Council have welcomed the postponement of the close season. The council has vowed to support government to fight against illegal, unreported and unregulated fishing that IUU fishing practices.
The opportunity is still there. The fishers have bought into this concept of the close season. It's just that the preparation did not go too well. So we are going back now to come out with a communication plan, to come out with more sensitization and education of the fishers, engage them more. From now till August 2019, a lot would be done to prepare them properly for this close season.
The head of Marine Fisheries Management Division of the Fisheries Commission, Matilda Quest, said the Commission would consider serious direct engagement with local communities on the issues.
This is what we have to do because in the past we're engaging more of their leaders, and it looks like the leaders were not going down to communicate whatever they have to do. So now our communication plan will be more elaborate, and we will do more sensitization through all the media, through direct contact with them, through our officers in the region.
An executive member of the Ghana National Canoe Fishermen Council, Nana Jojo Solomon, embraced the postponement, hailing the government for listening to them.
He's always had fisheries issues on his heart. I'm telling you, I know him personally. I know his promises for us and everything. And I also would thank the Minister for Fisheries. All intentions were meant to do us good. It's just that something small didn't go right.
He said the council was ready to assist the government to fight IUU while enforcing various fisheries laws.
Ghana National Canoe Fishermen Council is now up to the task. We wrote a letter to the President on Thursday. The same Thursday, the President worked on the letter. Friday, the President called an emergency cabinet meeting. And today we are here. They have suspended it. But then the most fearful part of it is that there is coming a force. So if you are doing bad, stop it. Because we, Canoe Council, will give you up even before they catch you.
Nana Jojo Solomon and others blamed the situation on political interference and cautioned politicians to stay clear the fisheries sector.
And that's all we have for this edition. My name is Grace Hamwa. Sorry, many thanks for joining us. If you watched us on DSTV, it was on DSTV channel 279. You can also get a lot more on this on our various social media platforms on Facebook and on Twitter. Log on to 3news.com for some more stories. Good evening.